Also going to talk about school lunches. Can we get any more school lunches? You're going to talk about school lunches? Seriously, paint dry, Crane Durham. But Michelle Obama, our first lady, certainly came forth with some attacks on those wascally Republicans who are upsetting everybody by giving states more power to use the money appropriately or as they see fit. And students weren't eating their lunches. That's one way for them to lose weight, though, isn't it, Crane? Not really. Terribly, terribly unhealthy. Terribly unhealthy. Don't skip lunch. Don't skip meals. That's the thing. What do you want to do when you lose weight? First start, people say, you skip breakfast. No, wrong answer. Crane, are you here to pump us up? Or are you here to tell us about the news of the day? I'm here to tell you God knows you. God loves you. He created you. Don't you forget that. He created you. You didn't come from a monkey. Haven't you always wanted a monkey? What's that song? Oh, yeah, if I had $1 million. Okay, so, yeah, I'm here to tell you God created you. He has a plan for you. He has a purpose, plan. He's given you gifts, and he recognizes you as an individual. Interestingly enough, that actually ties right into what Michelle Obama and the left seemingly ignores in everything they do. For later. Right now, let's go to a speech the president gave on Memorial Day in Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan, to the troops, where he mentioned, what about the speech today? We're going to do that later. This is an important point. Roll it.
I've made it clear that we're prepared to continue cooperating with our Afghan partners on 2 security missions, training and equipping Afghan forces and targeting counterterrorism targets against al-Qaeda. And once Afghanistan has sworn in its new president, I'm hopeful we'll sign a bilateral security agreement that lets us move forward. And with that bilateral security agreement, assuming it is signed, we can plan for a limited military presence in Afghanistan beyond 2014. Because after all the sacrifices we've made, we want to preserve the gains that you have helped to win. And we're going to make sure that Afghanistan can never again, ever, be used again to launch an attack against our country.
Like Iraq may be able to do now, because al-Qaeda's reemerged and controls areas, and they didn't secure a diplomatic agreement. By the way, all they had to do was ask for the soldiers to be called diplomats, and there's a way to do that without it going to the Iraqi Congress, the parliament, however you want to put it, and the point is they failed. Don't put anything on Bush. Don't say it was too tough. Don't blame even the Iraq government in that sense. We had it was pretty much a slam dunk. They were going to do it. They blew it. And they didn't keep troops there. Now, with that in mind, they're going to keep troops there in Afghanistan. But the force structure, about 9,800, why are they putting the troops there? First, President Obama, by more than gives the surge less troops, a quarter less troops than they asked for, okay? And so he goes with the least amount and then cuts that. Then he moves, and the surge is relatively successful, but cuts it short. Now he's talking about leaving troops there. Wait a second. This is getting too complicated for me. I need the doctor. Give me Dr. Charles Krauthammer weighing in on the president's statement about those troops being left behind to secure the peace. Roll it.
It's a kind of an act of personal narcissism. When this was talked about a few months ago in the press, there was a mention of the fact that if the full withdrawal happened in 2016, that would allow Obama to leave office having fulfilled the promise to liquidate the wars. I mean, is that how we're now setting the strategy of the United States of America in a war zone where so many have died and so much treasure and blood has been spent, so that a president can leave office looking good? It's certainly designed, has been suggested by Kelly Ayotte and others, to help the Democrats in the 2016 election. But why would you announce it in the first place? The greatest success we had in the post-war era, the post-wars era, were in Japan, in Korea, and in Germany, where we still have troops.
And in relation to that, President Obama talks about winning wars. And that's the good thing. He speaks to victory because he understands that wars, you just don't end them. You either win them, lose them, fight them to stalemates for territory, but also rigorously defend and have the debate of freedom versus tyranny. Oh, he doesn't do that? No, no, he doesn't. No. That's one of his blind spots, or he just doesn't get it. Why? Did they not keep score when he played sports? Win, lose? Everybody's a tie. Everybody gets a trophy. It's okay. We'll end the war. We'll really won't speak about it. Of course, it's a lot in relation to war. Sports are a lot more trivial. I mean, they're trivial, not more trivial. They're trivial to people dying, our soldiers dying. And then talking about securing the gain without a real strategy. But this goes in line. And the reason people are speculating on motives is because there is action. We have the fruits of the policy that we've seen. And in coming up with that decision, he ignored his generals. Now, I'm not going to go down too far down this road because it comes to the speech today, which we will address a little later on the show. But my only point is the president hasn't talked about winning, and he doesn't get it. And it's not going to change. And that's not being anti-President Obama. That's looking at our commander-in-chief, if he's an R or a D, looking at a failed policy and saying, wrong answer, and how are you formulating your decisions when you're ignoring your generals, which I've documented. Go back, check it out. With that in mind. Don't get angry. Get focused. We move to the president's speech today, and what he believes is the focus of the country's government for as commander-in-chief, what he believes the focus should be. I remember Al Sharpton once said, why are we building hospitals in Iraq? We should be building hospitals here in the United States. And I was thinking to myself, well, a few things there, Al. One, we're not a welfare state. We don't essentially plan our economy and the governments to plan and focus and build these respective places. And even in the case of the VA, we need to open it up for competition and voucherize it, which they have the ability to do. But I digress. My only point is Al Sharpton made this speech about what we were doing over in Iraq. And first and foremost, I believe in winning the war. So don't put me into the place where we need to build hospitals and turn our soldiers into construction crews as opposed to the fighting force that they are to defeat our enemy. That's what we need to do, and that's what we haven't done in this war against Islamofascism. We need to defeat and humiliate our enemy so they know and they realize the cost of war. That's for another day and another section of the show when it comes to speaking to how to win and win wars and defeat the enemy. With that in mind, the president actually spoke to the idea of where money should go, tax dollars should go. And I believe he thinks it's the welfare state. Roll it.
Half years later, as you graduate, the landscape has changed. We have removed our troops from Iraq. We are winding down our war in Afghanistan. Al-Qaeda's leadership on the border region between Pakistan and Afghanistan has been decimated, and Osama bin Laden is no more. And through it all, we've refocused our investments in what has always been a key source of American strength, a growing economy that can provide opportunity for everybody who's willing to work hard and take responsibility here at home.
My president is failing and has failed and continues to fail because he doesn't recognize how 2 plus 2 doesn't equal 5, no matter how much the government says it does and manipulates and changes and works in and provides regulation. He doesn't understand human nature, and he certainly doesn't understand freedom. And that's the problem. He goes to the idea of, hey, look what we're doing, providing freedom for everybody. Really? What about the kids who want to go to school and they're trapped into a school that is not serving them? What about those parents, Mr. President? Oh, no, you got to take care of the unions. Can't allow school choice. Can't allow people, individuals, to make their choices when it comes to freedom. I love how the pro-abortion people try to turn that around. You believe in choice? Then, yeah, I just don't believe in killing. I don't believe I have a choice to kill an innocent baby, and I certainly don't want my dollars to go to that. So if you want to play the game, I'll play it because I hear you sometimes. You're in my head. And I sit there and I think to myself, no. And I pray that you don't do it. And I recognize that will swing back to the states. We're going to talk to Ben Johnson later on this week about that issue. But when we talk about freedom, don't confuse it Don't distort it, because I believe in freedom for the baby. The child in the womb, not cosmic goo. So back to the point. The president talks about opportunity and freedom, but he doesn't believe in it for parents. He does not believe in it for states when it comes to school lunch programs or otherwise. Why not? Healthcare? No, he's got to run that. What is he really investing in? Food stamps? Yeah. And so we're clear. We're not talking about white Americans, black Americans, Hispanic Americans. We're talking about Americans. Ethnicity, race. When you're dealing with solving problems, that really doesn't come up because you recognize it's human behavior that we're talking about that causes problems, that exacerbates problems. And first and foremost, oh yeah, I got news for you. Dan Quayle was right. It's the breakdown of the American family. But I digress. Go back to the main point. The president talks about investing in and building this great economy at home that grew at 0.1%. Now that is a failed policy. That is a failed presidency if he's defining those investments. I don't think our investments should go there. I think our investments should go to the military, quite frankly. I think we should end the welfare state by reforming the welfare state, by not making the Faustian bargain that the federal government's going to be the social safety net. Wrong answer. We are the social safety net. We never should have gotten into that game to trade off. And I think it's what should scare you is the fact that the government is going to have a good portion of control over your economic resources and your health care in your most vulnerable years. And it doesn't work, and it continues not to work, yet he's touting how it works. And I recognize, yeah, money into the VA, but the system's the problem. When you look for accountability, you don't have that. That's what the VA Accountability Act was about. That's why Jessie Jane Duff talked about it with us last night. I'll post the interview. Coming up, Nancy Pelosi needs a tuna sandwich and some friends. Here's why. Because a friend would not allow somebody to say something so ridiculous. Find out what she said as we talk to a good friend from the Manhattan Institute. By the way, my opinion's my opinions. His opinion is his opinions. But oftentimes we do agree because I learn a lot from this man. Dr. Paul Howard's with us next. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth, AFR Talk.